because the the bravest among them, the Haredi, ultra Orthodox, Hasidic, whatever they are, uh, that refuse to serve in the IDF, um, they're mad. They're very, very, very mad because, by God, they start the wars, but they're not supposed to fight the fucking things. That's what Gentiles are for. God made Goyams to go fight. Duh. And they have something more important to do. They have to study the Talmud. The Talmud, the most important religious text there is. Does anybody know if Tom Cotton is still trying to shove us into an intel partnership with Israel? Because that would be funny. We already fight their wars for them. Why not, right? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? We give up our sovereignty to Israel. What are they going to do? Take over the porn industry? Maybe the movie industry, or the music industry, or the banking industry. No, probably the pharma, or maybe big food industry. It's a good time to wake up. It'd be a real good time to wake up right about now. If you haven't called Tom Cotton today, call Tom Cotton and tell him, look, this cotton picking legislation is going to be the end of you, brother. We're going to vote you out. Because everybody knows somebody that lives in Arkansas. Somebody. And so we need to make sure that everybody that we know that lives in Arkansas says no to the idea of giving up our sovereignty to Israel, of all people. Look, if you said let's give up our sovereignty to England, I'd say, look, man, those guys have got their heads so far up their ass that we probably don't want to do that. And then, the whole king, queen thing, it's not really our gig. But, I get it. We're kind of like cousins. But if you said, hey, let's do this. Let's go ahead and give up our sovereignty to, I don't know, Somalia. I'd say, Somalia? The hell are you talking about? Or Algeria? Or Pakistan? I'd say, are you out of your fucking mind? Why would we do that? They don't like us. Yeah, but guess what? They don't hate us, and Israel does. They hate you. And by the way, they hate Trump this week. Now Trump may stumble back into a war after saying that he wanted to get over this whole war thing. Let's just forget about it. Let's call it a tie. Okay? Fuck it. Let's call it a Mai Tai. Let's have a drink. Well, unfortunately, Israel yanked his leash really hard. And so during the middle of the negotiations for this 60-day peace thing, he said, look, man, I really hope they come to a peace agreement. I was like, all right, this sounds like the Trump of the last week that I personally think is being smart. And then he said, because if they don't, we'll bomb the shit out of them. As a matter of fact, their negotiators might not even make it back to Iran. Oh, shit. We got the Trump that's the pissy old fart that screams, get off my lawn. That's who we got this last day or so. Not the Trump that says, you know what? Fuck Israel, man. I'm going to do what's best for the United States. And by the way, if we keep doing this, let's just be real blunt. 4 more weeks. 4 more weeks, and everybody in the world is fucked financially. Period. That's not my opinion. Okay, that's not me looking into the tea leaves and guessing. I'm not drinking a cup of Turkish coffee and going, these grounds are really screaming. They're really speaking to me here. No, it's bottom line common sense. The world needs energy. There's no fucking energy. The world's energy is shutting down. And we will be in big trouble. No, not me. That's the worst part. I stand to make a goddamn fortune on this. This is just like when Kamala Harris was running for president. And I said, look, if Kamala Harris gets elected, I will make twice as much money in 2025 as if Trump gets elected. And guess what? For the first 6 months of Trump's presidency, I didn't sell shit in the way of gold or silver. Why? Because Democrats don't fucking buy gold and silver. Okay? Democrats buy whatever fucking, turbocharged fucking cryptocurrency is coming, that Dogecoin and all the high tech stuff. And when they lose all their fucking money, they're going to be all pissy about the fact that it's all Republicans' fault. But let's face it, I don't know if I have a single Democrat as a client. Now, do I hate Democrats? Hell no. I have nothing against Democrats. I love some of their ideas. Some are dumb as shit, but, some are good. Okay. Look, Social Security. It's not a bad idea. Taking care of the old farts, Look, old farts are some of the coolest people in the world. You sit down and talk to these old farts, and they got stories, they got wisdom, they got all kinds of stuff they could teach you, especially our kids. But, you want to stay home and take care of them? No, we can't afford to. All right, well, then let's set up a social system where we can take care of the oldie farts. Okay, Social Security, not a bad idea. I'm okay with that. Economic refugees buy gold and silver. You bet your ass they do. That's all they buy. That is all they buy, because they don't trust governments. They don't trust governments. They've seen what governments do, good ones and bad ones. What's a good government? One that doesn't exist, one that you never see, one that you never have to hear about, one that you don't have to worry is going to destroy your life by importing a bunch of people who absolutely hate your way of life or want to just suck all the money out of your system before leaving to go back to where they came from. That's a decent government. Nobody knows who's got one of those. Silver's the deal. I mean, look, 80% in the last year is not too bad. Well, I get it. People are like, well, my whatever, pick something. It went up 80%. Okay, sure it did. Now let's see if you can say that 6 months from now. Now that people are starting to figure out that AI is bullshit and data centers are not data centers. They're flock camera centers. All those flock cameras, and by the way, if you didn't know this, check your power poles. The old wooden power poles that are out on highways and dirt roads and whatnot. It's a funny thing because a lot of those electrical boxes, they're not electrical boxes anymore. They've been secretly converted over to camera stations. Yeah, with one-way mirrors in them. And so they can watch you, but you don't know that that's a flock camera unless you go and open it up. And of course, they're not locked because why would anybody check on an old power pole? That's the kind of shit our government is trying to pull over on us right now. And you got people in Israel that are rioting because the country that they literally are driving into war after war after war with the United States' backing want them to actually go to those wars. It's like, whoa, hold on. We're the real Jews. We don't fight. We get you to fight. You fight, you die. We study the Talmud. And according to the Talmud, we can then buy a girl who is 3 years and 1 day old and consummate our marriage with her. So it says in the Talmud. And by the way, these guys don't want to fight. Thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of Israeli men don't want to fight in Israel's holy wars because they're too holy to fight. Really? Can you imagine? Can you imagine if that's what we had said in the colonies back in the 1700s? Oh yeah, I'll help you write the Declaration of Independence, but I'm not going to fight. There's no way, man. Nope. Now, if you can find somebody else to fight for me, then that's fine, but I'm not going to fight myself because I have the luxury of being above everyone else in the world. You see, everybody else in the world, they're Gentiles, they're Goyim. They're not actually people. I am a human being. It sounds like BS to me too, but you know what? It doesn't sound like BS to the tens of thousands of Haredi and Hasidic ultra-Orthodox Jews that are right now sitting down in the middle of major boulevards all over Israel to protest the fact that the Israeli government had the gall to actually arrest a couple of them for not answering the draft. Now, listen, do they have technology out the wazoo? Yeah, a lot better technology than anybody in Lebanon. Does that mean that they don't get killed? Oh no, they're getting killed. You know, it might be 50 to 1, 100 to 1, but they're still losing people and they still need backup. Now, I suppose you could call all the Jewish people that are living in Ukraine. No, you can't do that, can you? Well, where are you going to get people then? Well, there's tens of thousands of young, good-looking Jewish boys sitting around reading the Talmud and studying at what age you're allowed to diddle children. Oh, and the fact that Jesus is burning in a lake of excrement. They're literally sitting around reading this stuff. And they want us to go back to war with Iran for them. Because if you think that Iran is going to build a nuclear weapon and use it on the United States, then stupid doesn't even begin to describe that idea. If you built a dozen nukes and then you used them on, say, the United States, number one, NATO would annihilate you. We have a thing with them. But on top of that, any country that had the capacity, that had the nuclear arsenal to erase you off the map, would do so because you just proved that you're willing to use nuclear weapons on another country. And therefore, you are the enemy, the pariah of every single country on the planet. There would be no one. Now, since about, as far as I can see, 90% of Shia Muslims live in Iran, that would be the end of Shia Islam. Because if you were a Shia Muslim anywhere else in the world, I'm sure that the people who you lived with would absolutely get rid of you. So, why are we worried about this? Well, 47 years ago, that's what what's his name? Fine. Oh God, he is the farthest thing from fine. Is he a congressman? to be? He's a senator, right? Randy. Well, he's Randy, all right. Wow, that guy is something else. That guy is how he's allowed to serve in our government. I don't know. He is literally Israel first, Israel second, Israel third, Israel fourth, and go fuck yourself, Israel. That's it. It's just Israel. He cares nothing about the United States at all. And the fact that he has the guts to stand up and say in March, 47 years ago, Iran attacked us. Okay. 47 years ago, Hezbollah, apparently it was Hezbollah. That's what our intelligence services told us. Now, and they never lie. Killed 244 Marines. And then a couple of years after that, we shot down one of their civilian airliners with 60 children on board, and we killed 288 of their civilians. Tit for tat, kind of how that works. Since then, they claim that 40,000 Americans have died because of their terrorism. I think that's actually kind of funny. They even blamed some of the stuff that Osama bin Laden did on Iran. They said Iran did it because, clearly they know geopolitics well enough to know that when you're talking about, the USS Cole. The USS Cole was attacked by Al-Qaeda. They claimed responsibility for it. Now, the best part is that when they claimed responsibility for it, they are a Sunni Muslim organization backed by very wealthy Saudi Arabians. 9/11, by the way. I heard one of the congressmen say that Saudi Arabia had never attacked us. And I thought, wow, 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi Arabian. Wow, what is that? Moscow is not on fire. I don't know why you would even say that. I don't think it was a nuclear blast. I just think it was a large blast, but it wasn't nuclear. Nuclear is a whole other issue. And I don't think that anybody wants to go there. And the other four were what? Yes, 9/11 was definitely an inside job. Whether you made it happen or simply turned your head and allowed it to happen. Yeah, Ukraine bombed some of Russia's refineries. It's true. And Russia is doing exactly the same thing to Ukraine. I believe they call that a war. What about Israel never attacking the United States? You mean when they shot up a ship that was flying an American flag, and then they sent torpedo boats out to torpedo it, and it still didn't sink? So then they went back and strafed it some more, and they killed dozens and dozens of American soldiers, sailors. You know about the USS Liberty. I'm going to say that Israel has probably killed as many Americans as anybody else in the world, because whenever they don't like something that you're doing, they have a long and rich history. As a matter of fact, go to Wikipedia. They're very proud of their Wikipedia page. It's got over 1,000 political assassinations, not people that were caught trying to murder this guy or that guy, and in the act they were gunned. No, they were literally sought out in other countries for the political speech and killed. What? Wait, so if you say something Israel doesn't like, they'll burn you to the ground financially. But if that doesn't work, and what you say is too dangerous to their cause, then they'll actually just send somebody out to cap you. Yeah. Yeah, the British Prime Minister didn't get fired exactly. He quit, but he only quit because an American Twitch streamer, a gamer named Asmongold, decided to read the entire report about grooming gangs in the UK, because nobody in the UK would touch it. Nobody in the UK would touch that. And immediately, all of the different places that had it up and available to download and read started pulling it down off the internet. Why would you do that? Well, because it makes Muslims look absolutely horrifically bad. Oh, and it makes the government look worse. Wait, if the Muslims were the grape gangs and the SA gangs and they did all the grooming, how could the government look worse? Well, because the government did things like, in one case, took a young teenage girl, well underage, back to the house where she had escaped from and gone to the police to say that she was being gang raped. And they dropped her off. And when they led her to the front door, they told the men, have fun. And they left her there. Have fun. Wow. Well, now, that is a low that is hard to imagine. I could say this with utmost certainty. If you're Australian right now, you're probably laughing about the fact that your country's supposed to be the penal colony. You guys are supposed to be the fuck ups and the degenerates down there. And no, not even close. You aren't even in the same ballpark as the homeland. That it's absolutely stunning to me that 250,000 young women were allowed to be destroyed physically and spiritually, mentally, just have their souls crushed by the fact that when they went to get help from the people that they believed were in authority, they were called things like, you're just a tart, which is the same thing as calling an American girl a slut. Same thing. Maybe that's why they did what they did to you. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have worn a dress that short. Maybe your skirt was, look, you're wearing lipstick in broad daylight. You're asking for it. Blame the victim. That's exactly what England has done with 250,000 young women. Now, when those 250,000 young women start to unalive themselves, or their marriages come apart in the most disgusting ways, when these women completely come unglued, when they have children of their own that they can't even attach themselves to because they're so fucked up mentally because of what you did to them, who's paying for that? I mean, other than the women, other than their families, their husbands, their children, their mothers, their fathers, who in a lot of cases didn't even know what was going on because these girls were shamed by the police. I got to tell you, folks, the reaction, and I told you this, remember, I said this in 2022 and 23. I said absolutely that the next big war would not be in the Middle East. And to this point, Iran is not a big war. It's going to be the most costly war in history. But it's not a big war. The big war is Europe. You're going to see, I can't call it a civil war because the people who are going to be singled out are not citizens. They're not from there. They're not part of the society. They don't want to be part of that society. They moved there with a specific point, and that is to take advantage of the weak-minded, spiritually weak human beings that live there. Now, the question, of course, is, and this is the one that has to be answered because this is the most important question of all time. This is the question that if we answer this one correctly, We can remove the cancer from our civilization, this whole world, okay? Because Muslims unto themselves are fine. Look, man, Saudi Arabia, you walk down the street at 2 o'clock in the morning, you are fucking safe. You run out of gas on a major highway in the middle of nowhere, the first fucking guy who sees you will pull over and help you. The people are fantastic. They're good human beings. They want to help. Why is it that Saudi Arabia is so much safer than London? Because Saudi Arabia, every single Friday, they take people out in the town square and they cut their fucking heads off with a sword. Every week. If you're gay, no big deal, man. Just keep your mouth shut. Say you're gay out loud, you're dead. It's that simple. It is that simple. I don't know if you were aware of the fact that there was the first gay mullah, or whatever he's called, in charge of a mosque. I guess he's a mullah, Sunni Muslim, from South Africa. Gay and and dead. He was assassinated, shot in the back several times. So, the question, of course, you got to ask yourself is this. If that's what it takes to rein in the more base ideas that these young scholars have, then why aren't we willing to do that? Well, because we're too evolved. Okay, so we're too evolved. We're too sweet. We're too kind. We're too nice. My dad taught me something when I was very, very young. I said to him, because he told me that someday when I grew up, I was probably going to, in his opinion, be a Navy SEAL, because that's what he was. And that he wanted me to understand that killing a person was a man, not any person, but just a grown man, a combatant, an evil person, an evildoer, was nothing compared to the idea of killing, like, a dog. Killing a dog was, in his opinion, a sin, because dogs aren't evil. Now, if you're being attacked by one and you have to do it, then you have to do it. But that's not something you should ever take pride in. You should never feel good about it. Man, on the other hand, well, there's some evil ones out there. And doing away with them, sending them to wherever they came from, yeah, that's actually a matter of pride. That's something that you can do and sleep really well at night, because the people that they hurt, they're not people like me. They're not people like my buddy Tom here. Those aren't the people they go after. They go after the really sweet people, the nice people, the weak ones, the ones that want to love everybody in the world, because evil men don't understand love. Kindness, that's weakness. No, there's a difference. No, there isn't. To an evil man, to somebody who is dead set on using his physical prowess to take what he wants from whoever he can, there is no such thing as kindness. That's stupidity. That's weakness. That's why every boy, when they're young, should be taught that you have to have a monster inside of you. I love my monster. My monster's really well trained. I had a dream one night, right after I was baptized. I had a dream where I was standing on a point, and the point behind me was a cliff. There was nothing behind me except just black space. And there were these literally hundreds of these beasts running towards me at night. And as they got closer, I realized that they were kind of like hyenas, but much, much bigger. And they had no hair, and they had horns, and they had huge fangs. And as these things got closer, and I saw the size of their claws and how muscular they were, I thought, oh shit, I know exactly what these are. These are hellhounds. That's got to be what this is. And when they stopped in front of me, they looked at me, and I realized, oh, they're not here to hurt me. These are mine. These belong to me. And that's when I realized, like, oh, shit, okay. Everybody, every man, and unfortunately, a lot of women. Now, in a civilized society, women shouldn't have to do that. Women shouldn't have to have a monster inside of them. And the fact that so many women want equality, okay, but real equality means you have to be one of us. Now, I understand what you really mean is you want us to be more like you. You want us to be mean and tough and scary and hard as a fucking rock, but at the same time, kind and loving and doing mani-pedis with you and talking about what in the hell is that girl on whatever Housewives thinking? Like, she can't be serious. She's not going to get away with this. Fuck, I'll go to Atlanta myself. I'll make sure she doesn't get away with this. That's what you really want. Unfortunately, you're never going to get that ever. Now, you might get a guy who he humors you. He watches Best Housewives with you because he loves you. And if it's important to you, then it's important to him. But are you ever going to meet a guy who is the toughest, manliest son of a bitch you could possibly imagine? And by the way, he's also the softest, sweetest Victoria's Secret model you could ever hope for. No, there's no such thing. That's just not possible. So what you need is you need to figure out what side you're on. Do you want a man or do you want a woman? Now, I can tell you this. The statistics say that the most stable relationship, unfortunately for me, is a gay marriage. Most stable. Now, I say unfortunately for me because this is not my thing. I don't judge. Hey, man, that's your thing. God bless you. Not my thing. So I gotta keep going with what I got, which is a man and a woman marriage, and that is it's better than lesbian marriages, which are the worst, statistically, the absolute worst. Now, I'm not going to get off on a tangent here about that because it's not my thing. But I will say this. The reason that we're in the situation that we're in the United States, the reason that we're in the situation we're in Europe, the reason that the world is about to explode into fucking flames is because people like me have been told that it's not okay. It's not okay. Violence is never the answer. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Because the only people that truly require violence are the most violent people out there. They're the ones who look at Europeans and how sort of what's the word I'm looking for? How not just kind, not just loving, but tolerant they are. No, of course not. Look, real men don't hit women, period. I've gotten punched in the face. She's now my ex-wife. Thank you very much. But first time it happened, I took a step back and did one of those, and she got me right in the jaw the day after I had surgery. on my jaw. And I said, well, I hope you feel better now. At which point she realized, oh, wow, that was really stupid. I shouldn't have done that. But yeah, there's no excuse for that. On the other hand, if you say there's no excuse for a man being violent ever, that is exactly why what's going on in England is going on in England. That's why the UK should be completely and utterly on fire 6 weeks from now. Because the men who would normally step in and stop this type of thing have been hauled off to jail and thrown in jail for a long time. Whereas the people who committed the crimes, who needed to be stopped, were forgiven because they just need time to blend in. No, they'll never blend in. What you're doing is you're teaching them. You are teaching them that they have now gotten into a society that is soft and weak. So exploit it as much as you possibly can. And they're going to. They already are, and they're going to continue to. So what do? Well, I can tell you what would happen in Pakistan. I can tell you what would happen in Saudi Arabia. I can tell you what would happen in Afghanistan. Because in Afghanistan, the Taliban just announced 3 years ago, that now that they've taken over again, they are going to reinstitute cutting off people's hands. That's it. Look, it's nothing personal. You stole. Got to cut your hand off. I wouldn't go back and steal again if I were you, because you only got one hand left. And nobody loves you enough to wipe your ass for the rest of your life. So what will happen in the UK? It will explode into violence. You have to understand that these 250,000 young women who have been completely destroyed. I don't care what you say. I was lucky. Okay, when I was a kid, the only thing that happened to me was that I was held down and beaten. Physically held down while I was beaten. So the only part of the grape, if you will, I hate having to say that. This whole country is such a bunch of sissies, it fucking drives me nuts. We should just be able to say what it is. But the fact that I understand just that much of it. Like the sex part, as far as I know, that never happened to me. I don't remember anything like that. I do remember being held down and beaten. And just that portion of it, the part of feeling completely powerless, having somebody force themselves on you and make you do something, go through something that you would give anything to stop, but you simply don't have the ability to. You're not physically strong enough to make them stop. That little bit of what these women went through, I do understand. And that's a lot more than most men. But to have that happen to you at such a young age has probably gotten me in a lot of trouble, actually, looking back. Because and I joke with people that I had less PTSD after the Marine Corps than I did before the Marine Corps. And the reason is, before the Marine Corps, I rarely slept through the night. Any little noise would wake me up. I used to line big pillows on both sides of me when I slept. And the reason was, in case somebody came in and tried to kill me, they might actually get to the pillows first and give me an opportunity to defend myself because they stabbed or shot the pillow first. This is when I was 5, 6 years old. That's when that started. Literally lining up the bed with lots and lots of pillows so that I could hide in amongst the pile. That would give me a little bit more opportunity to survive. So, my point is this. My dad told me that there were evil people in the world and that somebody needed to deal with them. And that was why he named me Martin, which, by the way, is after the god of war, Mars. Literally, he did that on purpose. Martinus is the original Roman name. It was shortened to Martin for most of Europe, but Martinus is what you name your son if you want to name him after the god of war. So, my dad knew exactly what he was doing when I don't think he knew what he was doing when he was beating the hell out of me. He was just drunk as shit and very violent. He was not a good drunk. But when he wasn't drunk and he was teaching me all of the other stuff that he taught me about defending myself, etc., or being offensive, he said that there are a lot of nice people out there. And the way he put it about himself was that there were probably a lot of men out there better suited to being fathers. He was sure that there were a lot of men out there that were probably better husbands, better brothers, better sons, what have you. However, he had a specialty, and his specialty was he could protect people who couldn't protect themselves. He was the guy on the wall that allowed all of the really sweet, nice Christian people to survive. Because even though they didn't appreciate it, and a lot of them didn't even know it, they were being protected by guys like him. And he said, that's going to be your job someday. So when I see what's going on in Europe, it makes me extremely angry. It literally, it's hard for me to control the rage that I feel in my stomach. I actually feel sick to my stomach when I see what's going on over there. When I see the way that these perfectly nice people are being taken advantage of by a bunch of aggressive cowards. Bullies are cowards. That's all there is to it. And all of these migrants that come over there and push people around, and they don't have to stand in line, and they're going to have an apartment before you're born there, and you're still waiting for a place to live. You're homeless because they're better than you. And it's like, man, I'm glad that's not happening in our country. We have a problem here. Europe colonized Africa. You say that like it's a bad thing. Your white self-flagellation is hilarious to me. Yeah. Okay. Oh, you mean when we brought electricity and railroads and what? Factories, modern civilization. Yeah. Oh, we're the devil for that. We should never, ever have brought that kind of evolution because clearly we destroyed Africa because before we got there, they never hurt each other. All those tribes just lived next to each other. All they did really on Sunday was get together and, just have fun. That's so stupid. They've been fucking slaughtering each other and eating each other for thousands of years. They've been going out on the plains and throwing fucking spears at each other. Why? Because that is my creek. 300 fucking creeks running through your territory as your tribe. But no, that one's mine. Oh, really? Well, I'm going to go get my homies and we're going to throw fucking sharpened sticks at you. Well, we're going to throw them back. Yeah, guess what? After cameras were invented, they were still doing it right up until, probably yesterday. So what? I'm supposed to feel bad because I brought the idea of a mail service or not just a post office. I brought the idea of literature. Oh, by the way, I didn't do shit. I didn't do anything to them because I've never been to Africa. Now, I have been to Japan. Yeah. You know what I think about the Japanese? They're fucking awesome. No, they're a little weird, and they don't like me because they think I'm a barbarian. Okay, you know what? I appreciate that, and I respect that. I respect that the Japanese think that Americans are barbarians because we kind of are compared to them. I've been to Korea. I love Koreans. Korean men are so cowboy, they fucking crack me up. You think you're tough? I'm Korean. I'll show you how tough you are. I'll be as tough. I'm tougher than you. The Rock Marines, Jesus, we fought with them every day. Philippines. What do I think about Filipinos? Wouldn't mind retiring there. Filipinos are cool people. Now, do they have the same social structure as Korea? No. Are they as clearly refined as Japan? No. Are they cool people and they party, have a good time, respect each other? Mm-hmm. Yeah. They have gangs just like everybody else and criminals and all that shit. But I don't have to feel bad that we colonized them. What's this? Maybe everybody should stay home in their own country. That's the worst idea I've ever fucking heard. Come on, poker. If we all stayed home in our own country, all the crazy shit that we've developed over the last 10,000 years, this is all because of the big experiment that's humanity. Now, look, if I go to another continent and me and my boys are the first ones there and nobody there knows how to ride a horse, they've never seen armor before, what? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, let's see if we can't get along. We can't? Oh, you have a practice of taking children up on top of a rock and cutting their hearts out in order to slow down time? Okay, well, I don't have any use for you now. Thank you. Why would I? Oh, you got to respect them. Oh, really? Do you respect child sacrifice? Do you respect the fact that in Islam, 8 years old is old enough? Or how about this? Do you respect the fact that in Judaism, 3 years and 1 day is old enough for a girl to have her marriage consummated? You respect that? Do you respect that? Because to me, that is some sickening shit. 3 years? Are you fucking kidding me? I've got 4 daughters. When they were 3 years old, they were just these cute little things. I don't know why, but I just got a huge restriction for, get this, self-harm and talking about unaliving oneself. I don't think I said anything about that. Maybe 30 minutes ago when I was talking about how these poor girls in the United Kingdom are going to be a mess. Well, they are, you know. But the bottom line is this. I just want to know who did this. That's it. I want to know who did this. See, things like this don't happen on accident. You don't have a group of people like, I don't know, let's just call them liberal Democrats. You don't have a bunch of liberal Democrats defending people who would unalive them like that. The moment they had an opportunity, they would do unspeakable things to these liberal Democrats. These liberal Democrats, remember that they made it all the way through elementary school without drinking ant poison. They made it all the way through high school. We're assuming they're adults and they're still alive. So they must have enough common sense to at least stay alive for a while. So then the question is, why do they believe that all these people coming from these other countries, like Somalia or Pakistan, all these men coming from these countries that are very clear about the fact that no, we're not going to work. We're going to live off of unemployment. We're going to take your free housing. We're going to do horrible things to your children. And then if anybody says anything, we're going to scream about you being racist and hateful. And we're going to make you feel really bad about being colonizers. Wait, what? Yeah. And by the way, if you say that you think that this is wrong, we're going to have the entire media say that you are a right-wing radical, that your ideology is Nazi, like you're a Nazi. Okay, but what if I'm only trying to defend my children and my way of life, and I'm saying that whoever's bringing all of these millions and millions and millions and millions of people who hate my civilization, they hate my society, they hate my way of life, they look down upon me. They look at me as a victim of, as just an opportunity to steal and lie and hurt people. And they're super excited about this. Well, does that make me a Nazi to say that? Yep. Okay. All right. So then I guess the question is, who's behind that? Who controls the media? Who's controlling this narrative that all of the people in Europe whose lives are being systematically destroyed, who is it that's controlling this narrative? Somebody's controlling this narrative. Somebody's in charge here. The government, who normally would be very worried if a lot of people were upset with them, but in this one specific case, they don't care. In this one specific instance, they turn a blind eye completely. As a matter of fact, they go the opposite direction really hard, and they complain constantly. When I saw this, I fucking couldn't believe it. There was a Pakistani guy who was in the Congress, the Senate, whatever it is, in Scotland, and he was complaining about underrepresentation of Pakistanis in Scotland. And I checked. It's like 1% of the population. And they've got like 3 people in the Senate out of 20. It's like, bro, you're overrepresented like a motherfucker. What are you talking about? No. We need more representation from people of color. What? It's like, what is going on here? Not only are you way, way out over your skis there, dude, but you're lying through your teeth. And everybody in that room, all of the white people in that room are like, yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah, totally. Yep. You know what? I'm going to go home and I'm going to beat the fuck right out of myself. It's like, what? When is silver going to go up? Well, that's a good question. When are we done with this war? So what's the solution? It's exactly, look, if I were a religion, okay, I want you guys to think about this. If I were a religion, say a small one, and I wanted more than anything in the world for 2 big religions to just go at it and just decimate each other. This is exactly what I would do. This is exactly the game plan I would follow. I would literally force these two groups of people who have absolutely nothing in common. Nothing. I would force them to live together, knowing that one group is absolutely, completely, and utterly chaotic and violent. And the other is a stable society built on trust over hundreds of years. Okay. And that's the thing, is we're not talking about Europeans. What we're talking about is we're talking about the French. Well, why just the French? Oh, just the French with the Algerians. Oh, because they were colonizers. Right. And then when they left, they said, hey, if you guys want to come over here and destroy our country now, go ahead. And the Algerians were like, wait, we could take over entire parts of major cities? Yeah. We could literally unalive people in the street if they made a cartoon about Muhammad? Sure. We could do whatever we want. Yeah. What about grooming? Oh, of course, absolutely. Yeah, no problem there, because nobody wants to seem racist, because that shit we pulled in Algeria made us feel so bad that we're willing to just bend over and let you destroy us. Okay, cool. All right, good. Well, there you go. What about England? Oh, well, England feels bad about everything now. I mean, the English, jeez, talk about white devils. Come on, guys. Gandhi, that wasn't that long ago. Gandhi just wanted to, he just wanted to break up your empire, no big deal. And eventually he got his way, but you got him back because you broke up India into 3 parts. Yeah. East and West Pakistan, and then India. That's KNOW, Hong Kong. And it's a burden and a gift. So why do you have so many Pakistani men running around the country destroying your entire civilization? This storied United Kingdom where the sun never set for hundreds of years. And now it's a pile of steaming shit that nobody wants to live in. Why are you doing that? Well, because we feel bad about what we did, and some because feel bad. That's all. Okay, fine. Is that really what it is, though? Or is that what the public story is supposed to be? Germany, what'd you guys do? Come on, Germany, fess up. What'd you do? Oh, shit. Right. Sorry. Forgot about that for a second. Woo! Yeah, damn. But Germany, those weren't Muslims, were they? No. But in your own defense, can't really do what you're doing for the Muslims with Jews, because they have their own homeland now. Got more money than you do. They're more successful overall, and they don't necessarily want to be in Germany. The weather kind of sucks. So, okay, I get it. It's sort of a projection. You feel guilty. You hate yourself. And believe me, I know that for a fact, because one of my friends is a German athlete, an Olympic athlete, who got kicked off the Olympic team because when he was interviewed, he said he loved himself and he loved being German. That's why he was kind of arrogant sometimes. He's just being honest. They were like, you're a little flashy, you're a little mouthy for a German. Normally you guys are pretty reserved. And he was like, yeah, that's because look at me. I'm amazing. I'm awesome. And I'm German. Germans are awesome. The Germans literally kicked him off the fucking Olympic team for that. They said, that is not the way we act. That kind of ego and pride. Just for saying he loved himself, he was kicked off the German team. Germans, those are some self-hating / arrogant. How do you do that? How can you? That's got to be tough. Maybe that explains all the latex and baby oil you guys have, because something's up there. Something doesn't make sense, because I know that you're super, like, I'm not sure about the women, but I know that the men are super arrogant. They still know that they're like the best, period. Like, if you're not German, you ain't shit. You know that. But publicly, they're like, oh yes, we're very humble now. We've been very humbled, and we never take pride in being German. We put up with ourselves, but really we don't love ourselves much. And it's like, what? Come on, man. That was 100 years ago. Pull your head out of your ass. You're Germans. You're awesome. Go be awesome. But it does explain why they would want to take on a bunch of immigrants that hate them. It's like, hey, the self-loathing just sort of spread. So Norway. Let's talk about Norway for just a second. Let's talk about Norway. Because I just sold one of my race cars to a guy in Norway. I said, big chunk of my family's Norwegian. You guys probably handled this whole immigration thing a lot better than everybody else. And he said, and I quote, "The immigrants have destroyed Norway. Our government has destroyed Norway by allowing these immigrants to come here." And I said, "Are you kidding? It's not like Paris or something, is it, where there's areas?" He goes, "Yeah, there are areas, entire areas of cities where you're not allowed to go if you're not Muslim." And I was like, "Dude, that sucks." And he goes, yeah, they're a complete and utter drag on everything. All they do is lie, cheat, steal, and live on our tax money. And by the way, we hate them." And I said, "Oof, hate, it's a big word." Well, then, strangely enough, I talked to my podiatrist, who's from Germany. She doesn't have cable. Now, why would I mention that? Well, because she doesn't have cable, because she doesn't waste her time watching TV, and that $100 a month that she saves, or $120 or whatever, she saves that up, and every year she buys a round trip ticket to Germany to go visit her parents. And she's kind of hot too. So I said to her, "Well, that's really smart. I never thought of, how much money cable adds up to, but you seem like the type that's probably more into reading books anyway." And she said, "Well, that's true. And, it's kind of sad because I'll never go back to Germany." And I said, "What do you mean? To visit your parents?" She goes, "No, I'll never go back there." And I said, "Why not?" Very sweet woman. Very, very, really nice, probably late 30s, good looking, very well educated. She looked at me and she said, "Because the Muslims have destroyed Germany forever, and I hate them. I wish someone would kill them all." I was like, "What? Whoa." And then she went back to working on my ingrown toenail, and I thought, wow, where did that come from? Like, you could feel the hatred you could see it on her face. And I thought, whoa. So I told a buddy of mine I was in the Marine Corps with. He came back from Israel, and I told him, I talked to a buddy of mine who lives in France, and he said it's getting completely out of control. And And he said, "Oh yeah, I just spoke to a buddy of mine too." And I said, "Where's he live?" And he goes, "In Sweden." Well, my buddy, before he joined the Marine Corps, went to college in Sweden. Lucky bastard. And he goes, "Yeah, it's funny because he's a Buddhist. He's like a monk." And I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, he's like a Buddhist monk." And I said, what did he say about the immigration?" And he said that they've destroyed Sweden forever and it'll never be the same country. And that there's absolutely nothing that can save Sweden now. Wow. I don't see any reason to I don't see any reason to kill anybody. Look, I'm not saying that Islam is wrong. See, that's the funny part. Everybody just assumes, well, you must hate Islam. I don't hate anybody. However, I'm not stupid. I understand that there are certain things that go together. Okay? Peanut butter and chocolate, pepperoni on a pizza, pineapple and I'm just kidding. That's stupid. There are certain things that go together. Okay? Black women and white men. That's actually not a joke. That is literally the most stable of all marriages. Black women with white men is the most stable marriage. Don't ask me why. I don't fucking know. Go talk to your psychiatrist and they might have a great explanation. Maybe an anthropologist could help. I don't know. I just know that that's the truth. Yes, we said exactly the same thing. As a matter of fact, side. In 1865, the New York Times, or maybe it was the New York Post, compared the bubonic plague to the plague of the Irish, and they deduced that the bubonic plague was less dangerous to humanity than the Irish. Now, here's the problem. And by the way, before that, Benjamin Franklin wrote an article about the people that were being brought to the United States from overseas. You know what I'm talking about. That not only did they not share the same skin tone, but they didn't share the same principles. They were barbaric. They had no manners. They couldn't be taught. They were ignorant. They were violent. They couldn't control their emotions. And that in no way should anyone be allowed to bring Germans into the United States. Yeah. When I read that letter from Benjamin Franklin, I was a little shocked at the ending too, because when he said skin tone, I was like, well, clearly he's talking about slaves. No, he was talking about Germans. So, look, we all have our turn in the barrel. Okay, we all have our turn of being the asshole. We all have our turn of not fitting in. But what happens is very quickly we establish areas where it's a little bit more Irish than not. 5 points, whatever, or Boston. You look at Chicago, the south side of Chicago, the southwestern part of Chicago. The signs are in Polish. Okay, so is that something that makes? And by the way, when you look at the society, I'll give you another perfect example right now that absolutely is in my opinion exactly like what we said about the Germans or the Italians. We called them WAPs because if you got over here to Ellis Island and you didn't have immigration papers, they would just write "without papers" on the back of your jacket with chalk, WOP, without papers. So people started calling and of course, if you called an Italian a WAP, that was a huge insult, especially to the ones who were wealthy who came over here with papers. You're saying, hey, you're just a low-life turd, it's one of those things. You get your ass kicked. So Mexicans have been kicked around and treated like shit by the United States now for about the last 30 years, maybe 40 years. Okay. Now, I remember very clearly growing up, because you have to understand, I've never lived more than 200 miles from the Mexican border in my life, ever. Most of my life, I've lived within an hour's drive of the Mexican border. So 60% of the state, when I moved to Arizona, still spoke Spanish, 60%. So I see this as an interesting situation because we talk shit about the Mexicans and they're lazy or they're this or they sneak across the border and they all of this crime and all these things that we say about Mexicans. But what I've found through my own experience that is completely idiotic. It's horrific that we do that because Mexicans, well, what exactly is it about Mexicans that's so different? They're Christians. They like to have big families. They like to have, parties with family and friends. They like to work hard. They want to have a beautiful home. They want their children to be more successful than they are. They are the second highest grossing, highest earning immigrants in the entire history of the United States, right behind Asians. They're fucking awesome. Now, do I find it funny that they're all half my size? Yeah, it's cute. They're cute little black-haired people that are just the nicest fucking people in the world, and they will work your ass off. You don't want to work with Mexicans. You do not want to be on a Mexican fucking construction crew. These motherfuckers don't know how to quit. You don't want to be in the Marine Corps if you don't like Mexicans, because some of the toughest fucking Marines in history were Mexicans. And you certainly don't want to be a fighter, because if you're a boxer or if you do MMA like I did for years, the toughest fucking people, they have no quit in them whatsoever. So why does the United States constantly shit on them? Illegal immigrants. Now, when somebody sneaks in here from China, yeah, I got a problem. I got a real fucking problem with that. We have nothing in common. Nothing. Now, I said I lived in Japan. Damn right. And I was very careful to learn all the little idiosyncratic stuff that they do. You don't stick your chopsticks standing up. There's certain things that you don't do. By the way, you don't use chopsticks on your sushi. Americans pick up chopsticks, use their chopsticks, but they pick it up with their hands. It's fast food. It's like a hot dog to them. And by the way, you never dip the rice in the soy sauce. You only dip the meat. So you take it and you dip it and then you eat it. So now you can go in and impress your Japanese friends with your sushi eating ability. Yeah, Mexicans are fucking awesome. So if you're a Mormon and you want 14 kids, or you're a Catholic, Italian Catholic, Irish Catholic, whatever, and you want 14 kids, can't really make fun of Mexicans for wanting 14 kids, can you? I can't. They want what we want. They fit into our civilization, our society, so perfectly that it makes you wonder. It's like, what exactly is it that made us start talking shit about them anyway? That's the dumbest thing we've ever done, because they're good people and they're just like us. Now, are there good people out there that have nothing in common with us? Yeah. Chinese, perfect example. Their civilization is completely different than ours. They do things that we would look at and go, oh my God, you're shitting me. You don't actually do that. You don't eat fucking dogs, do you? Dogs are man's best friend. Yeah, they're good too. It's like, what? No. So You know, look, you can't put paper towels in a restroom. Doesn't work. Why not? Well, because they're free. And any old Chinese man or woman who sees that you have put out paper towels will stand there pulling them out, folding them up, putting them in their purse or their pocket until the dispenser is gone. I'm not stealing them, they're free. You're giving them away, so I'm taking them all. This is going to save me money when I get home. Okay, but I mean, come on. You know that you're supposed to take one and dry your hands. Yeah, but you didn't say. And there's a very common saying in China, and a lot of people don't like it, but it's absolutely true. If you can cheat, then cheat. What? Well, I mean, what about being a gentleman? What about honor and integrity and whatever? Stupid. Well, I can tell you this. Somebody's making all of these people in Europe take on a group of people who don't mix. Now, are there groups in the United States that refuse to mix? There are predominantly Polish neighborhoods, but there's no rules about living there. If you want to live there, go live there. And the people there are welcoming to anybody. There are Italian neighborhoods like in Brooklyn that are very Italian. But would they tell me I wasn't welcome there because I am clearly not Italian? No, of course not. Of course not. The reason that you move there is because you like the ethnicity of the area. It's not 100% Italian or get the fuck out. No. It's got an Italian kind of feel to it. All right. Paisan, Shintan. Let's go to Florida. Swamde. Yeah, okay. That's what you like. So go there. Or, hey, there's a fucking huge Chinatown in New York City. If you're a white boy and you like Chinese stuff, they have no problem with you living in Chinatown. They don't care. What about the Hasidic community? The ones in New Jersey. You know, the Jewish community. It's a closed community, completely closed community. If you're not Jewish, you're not going to live there, period. They have between 8 and 15 children each. Somehow they've managed to get to the point where they are getting upwards of $70,000 in benefits per child. And the men, some enormous amount. And when I say enormous, not like 12%, like 90 something percent of the men, adult men, don't work. They study. They study the Talmud. Religious studies is what they do for a living. Yep. Cars for kids. 1-800 cars for kids. Yeah, well, guess what? Those aren't for kids. Those are only for Jewish kids. Nobody else gets a dime of that money. That's a fact. That is a Jewish nonprofit, and they don't just fund Jewish kids, they fund Jewish camps in Israel. Yeah, the difference between that and Mormons, though, is very different because I've never, and again, part of it is the way that I look, but I've never found Mormons to be exclusive. They never exclude me from anything. I've been invited to their homes. My children have been invited to go with their kids and go play, and it's never been an issue. And I mean, when I moved here, first place I lived, there were three different Mormon families on the same street in Tempe. They were very cool people. They didn't try to exclude me. So I don't think that's a good one. But I think that, I think that the idea that there is a Muslim only community that's trying to get started in Texas, the fact that there are Black only communities being started in the South. Nobody says a word about Black only communities. Why is that? Well, that's odd. That's really odd. So what about white only communities? Oh, shit. You can't even say that. Oh boy, what did you Nazi son of a bitch. It's like, wait, what? When you're a Mormon, you have to pay 10% to the church. Penn, are you serious? Have you never been a Catholic? Have you never been to church? Tithing? They all do it. Marry 9-year-olds. Well, yeah, that's one of the things. Let's see. No way. White only. Oh no, yeah, absolutely not. White only. My God, do you have any idea how fast I'd be called a white supremacist, a neo-Nazi, this, that? I mean, you come up with something. I mean, I could be married to a Black Jewish woman, and if I said anything about a whites only, they'd be like, "Oh no, 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 you can't do that." Lights only in the Ozarks. Let's see. Texas is a third world country, lifelong Catholic. Well, there's a lot. Well, obviously, there's a lot of Catholics in Texas. I mean, it used to be Mexico, and the Tejano culture. Look, Cowboys. Let's do our homework, folks. They're called vaqueros, and they were Mexican first, and then mostly Black. And there were some white cowboys, but in the 1700s, that was a bitch of a job, and a lot of Black guys did it because they wanted to get the hell out of the South. And right after the war, they were like, okay, well, I got my independence now. What the fuck does that mean? Well, let me get out of the South because a lot of these people still look at me kind of funny. Yeah, I mean that's the thing is that I didn't get a chance to be racist because I grew up in a town where Wiley was the only Black guy at my high school. He's a buddy of mine. We were science nerds, and his little sister didn't even go to that school yet. She was in like junior high. Hello from South Carolina, Jeff. I hope that you are ashamed of the fact that Lindsey Graham won his primary. That is horrifying. How is it that nobody in South Carolina ever admits to voting for Lindsey Graham, and he keeps getting in there? He can't have that many gay lovers. Guatemala, love it. I read a book about Guatemala. The City of the Monkey God. The City of the Monkey God is about an unknown city deep in Guatemala. Let me tell you folks something. You want to see some shit? You should see parts of Guatemala that are literally fucking vertical, straight up, straight down, straight up, straight down, thousands of feet. And down at the base, little teeny tiny river, maybe not even a river, just a valley that's like as wide as a driveway, and then another set of 4,000 or 5,000 foot mountains. Nobody's ever explored most of it. Like literally nobody has that we know of. And the reason I know that is because the guys who went there for this book, City of the Monkey God, said that they were sitting in camp and deer, big, huge rats, all kinds of stuff just walked into their camp while they were sitting there. the deer walked in that obviously never had human contact before. They didn't know they were supposed to be afraid of humans, so they weren't. That's cool. That is very cool. Yeah, they get some big rats in Guatemala. White Afrikaner boar. Holy smoke. I would not want to be living in South Africa right now. Man, that is not a good situation. When I read that there are people that South Africans that are still sacrificing children to take their body parts to witch doctors, I was like, there's no fucking way that's true. And I read a lot and found out that yes, it's not talked about much because it's so horrendous. It makes the South Africans look so unbelievably barbaric that it's like, it's 2026. You're going to take pieces of a dead human baby to a witch doctor to give you good luck? Yeah, I feel really, really bad that we colonized that place because clearly they didn't need Europeans. Shit. Love Hawaii. Don't love what we did to the Hawaiian government because we just took over Hawaii. We didn't even ask. We just fucking took it over. Guatemala, no government bothering the people. Oh, I love that. Obama says, let them in. I don't think he did. I don't think he said that. How could any parent do that? That's a very good question. It's weird because the sanctity of life, in the United States, we tend to think about life as so precious. But in a lot of these countries, life's worth nothing. Like life is worth absolutely nothing to these people. And it definitely makes you wonder, how did it get like that? Yeah, it's sad. The thing is that if you have any conscience at all, you have to, like when I went to Kauai, I look at how beautiful it is, and I still feel a little sad about that because, this isn't like a lot of other places where they had this horrific life that was all about murder and destruction and all this shit. The Hawaiian people were doing just fine without us. They were living life, and anytime you have an island chain in the Pacific, you're probably doing okay. Nice weather, lots of fish, no snow, tsunami once in a while, but hey, that's life. Yeah, beautiful place. It's I don't know that I'll ever go back there though. Oahu, that's big. We saved Hawaii from Japan. Well, the Japanese really do like Hawaii. I mean, it's some of the weather there is very similar to the southern Hawaiian islands. I mean, the southern Japanese islands. The northern Japanese islands, very different. Snow, hot springs, kind of like Iceland in a way, I suppose. Well, guys, let me check something real quick. I want to see. I know that silver's just doing its thing right now. No, it's not. It got clobbered. Okay. Well, that tells me what's going on in the Middle East because that is exactly what's happening right now. Okay, let's see if I can get to community forum. Let's see, news. It's so funny. Yeah, it's just the same shit as always. Precious metals pull back. Silver finds support. Silver remains under pressure. As you go through, and it's like the bottom line is this: right now, silver and let me see what oil's doing. Oil's dropping like crazy. Um, uh, Dow Jones, Nasdaq. Yeah, I'm I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with silver. Yeah, oil's 73.65 right now, and it's dropping. The VIX the VIX is at 17. That's very low considering because that's the volatility index. The dollar's at 101. That won't stay that way for very long. And the reason I say that is because we've got two options at this point, folks. We've pissed away so many hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, we're pushing into the trillions of dollars of money wasted in the last 7 years. And I don't know if any of you saw what happened with gas is high in California because California's politics are fucking stupid. But I don't know if any of you saw what happened with Tulsi Gabbard and the release of all these files that Fauci hid, all the emails between Fauci and the CIA and between Fauci and everybody else. But that, that's something that's really that's a scam that costs us not just trillions of dollars. And don't get me wrong, it didn't cost us billions to shut down the world's economy for almost a year to do what we did. It's incalculable. You can't calculate. I mean, I can calculate money-wise trillions of dollars in stimmies, in all of the problems that the inflation caused, et cetera. But that's just part of it. What could we have done as far as the economy during the 2.5 years that we were just limping along? How much money did we lose? How many businesses went out of business? Young, vibrant businesses, the lifeblood of the United States, the small business owner. How many people lost their all of their dreams, all their hopes and dreams went down the shitter because we were lied to, straight up lied to. And then, of course, there's also the human cost. How many people died of COVID? And more importantly, how many people have died from the vaccine? Because as time goes on and as the powers that be loosen their grip on that information, the more horrifying it becomes. There are real credible virologists from around the world who are now suggesting publicly that more people may have died from the vaccine than from COVID directly. That just, and then people say to me, well, after that, and then after, you had that one last little bit of cautious optimism about Trump and the Epstein files and, no more wars. And, we were going to actually not pay income tax because we were going to use tariffs instead, use our muscle as the world's largest economy. It's like, yeah, I'm done. I have no more faith in government at all. That's it. I'm done. So now, every time anybody in the government opens their mouth, I try to figure out, okay, how are you trying to fuck me over? What do you want from me? Well, let's hope we're purebloods. One of the things that I found out about the vaccine is that it looks like there's a chance that if you have sex with somebody who's had the vaccine, they could actually shed some of what is in their bloodstream. Yeah, you can actually potentially, and of course, there's no science on this because nobody wants to know the answer, but people who are infected with the vaccine, look, we were told, yeah, it's going to stay right there, right? And then the next thing you know, women were like, well, how come it's turning up in my breast tissue? How come it's turning up in my ovaries? And men were like, how come it's turning up in my testicles? Why is it turning up all over my entire body? And then women were like, hey, how come I'm getting so much more ovarian cancer as women than we did before? And then, of course, it's like, okay, well, we've got all kinds of cancer exploding now, colorectal cancer and all kinds of crazy shit. And it's just like, whoa, who knows? Gee whiz, I don't know. Smart. Yeah. And the idea that, it's like, oh, yeah, the United States is a free country. We have freedom that nobody else in the world has. When COVID was happening, I remember very clearly Fauci and the president of the United States basically saying, yeah, you've got the right to not take it. And we've got the right to freeze your fucking bank accounts. And we've got the right to not hire you. And we've got the right to make sure you don't work. We've got the right that, we've got the right to make sure you don't get stimulus checks. Yeah, you got the right. Do you really want to exercise it at the cost of, I don't know, everything? Medical insurance, whatever? No, I guess I don't. Okay, good. So you consent? Uh-oh. Wow, they got me for misinformation that time. That time they flagged me for misinformation. Now, of course, the question is, what misinformation? Because that's literally what Fauci and Biden said. But, it's not information that's convenient. I will give them that much. It may be true, but it's not convenient. Let's see how the Big Seven did. Okay. It's so funny. Tesla. That's crazy. How in the world? Let's see. Where is SpaceX? Huh. That's weird. SpaceX. Come on, guys. Ah, there it is. SPCX. Space Exploration Technologies Corporation. That's not SpaceX, is it? What the hell? Symbol for SpaceX. Okay. Yeah, okay, that is SpaceX that I was looking at. Alrighty then. Go ahead and go on to my watch list. Let's keep an eyeball on you. Oh, wow. So it was up to 217, 154. I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. That's not a big dip. Shit like that happens all the time. Okay. We're at 63 on silver. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get a lot of huge movement in silver, which is good if you're buying it. If you're trying to sell it, well, you might want to hold on, a couple days. But if you are trying to buy it, this is as good a time as you will ever find. Do I think Bitcoin will hit 200,000? Man, that's a tough one, because it's not about, to me, it's not even about Bitcoins. Where are we at? 64? Yeah, 64. It's not even about Bitcoin. It's about what the US government does. That's the problem. We're going to go to a digital currency. They said that a central bank digital currency would never happen in the United States. That's another lie that Trump told. In the Housing Act that they were working on just recently, one of the things in there was specifically that they would have a central bank digital currency. So that's it. We're going to have one. They just changed a few of the optics slightly, but it's exactly the same thing. So, we're in a very interesting situation. There's a reason that a lot of very wealthy people are looking for second citizenships, looking at other countries to live in. I don't know that they're looking at living in those countries forever, but it seems like they're looking at living in those countries soon for a certain amount of time. So, why? I can only imagine. I know that Europe is going to explode. Europe will be a complete disaster. And the reason is that there are lots of people on both sides who are ready for a lot of violence. That's a fact. Here in the United States, we have our own breakdown of our civil society. We've got our own problems where it's like, we have two different societies here. That's all there is to it. We have completely different societies in the United States. We have white people and black people who are responsible, hardworking, people who, when they got out of high school, they decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to start climbing that ladder, man. Whether it was as a janitor or mechanic or HVAC guy, whatever. Maybe they joined the military first, whatever. But you got that group of black people plus a large majority of white folks, and then you have a very small community of people who absolutely would not, under any circumstances, ever want to meet Martin Luther King. And I know that for a fact because of his famous speech. Because if we didn't judge them based on the color of their skin and we only judge them based on the content of their character, or in this case, enormous lack of character, they would fail miserably. And it's a very, very small percentage of the country. But they are absolutely the most toxic, cancerous group of people to ever exist in the United States. And it's not because, they're immigrants, they just got here. Nope. They've been living in the United States, in some cases, for 10, 12, 15 generations, as long as everybody else has been here. But for some reason, and I would love to know who, their culture just took a kind of a left-hand turn somewhere along the early to mid 80s. It seems like it became cool to become disgusting, to become ignorant, to become angry, to become violent, to use violence instead of knowledge, to take and steal, to just rob people, to basically do the same thing in the United States that people are doing in Europe. Well, the question is, I do think that rap music had a whole lot to do with it, which is funny because, I mean, this is what my grandparents probably said about rock and roll music. But I remember very clearly the beginning of rap music. I remember the beginning of hip hop. And I remember the lyrics. That's the downside for a lot of people is they don't remember the lyrics. They don't remember the fact that a lot of hip hop songs were all about, being in love and getting that girl. And, once she sees how cool I am, I'm going to rock her world, and it's all going to be cool because, I'm going to be so smooth and it's all going to be great. White Lines, great song. Grandmaster Flash, don't do it. Once you start, it's hard to stop, Those were the songs that I grew up to. And then all of a sudden it started to become about gangbangers and about, shooting each other and murdering each other and doing all these things and, having more money. It's the only thing that mattered. However you got that money, that didn't matter because you have to get whatever you can get. Take it however you can take it. You just fucking take it. It's like, whoa, what is going on here? And then, of course, the drug culture was super, super glamorized. And I think, who is it? Who is it that was in charge? Who were the music producers back then? Who owned those companies? Like, who was that guy that P. Diddy was a chauffeur for? Well, that's right. That's exactly who it was. I have a hard time. I like Elon Musk. Okay. And Elon Musk is, it's funny, I realized the other day that, as far as African Americans go, they really need to kind of shut the fuck up at this point because the richest man in the world is an African American. The only trillionaire on earth is an African American. The only man that will probably set foot on Mars in our generation is an African American. So that beats the shit out of your, invention of peanut butter. Nobody cares about peanut butter. So I like Elon Musk, but I'm not sure that he understands what's going on. The problem is that I found something out about Elon Musk from doing a lot of studying, a lot of studying about him and his colleagues and former buddies. I don't think that he and Peter Thiel are very close anymore. I do find it super ironic that Peter Thiel is an anagram for the reptile. But, Peter Thiel talks about the Antichrist constantly. And, I remember when I found out that he had destroyed an entire newspaper because they'd done an essay about his wild gay sex orgies that he didn't appreciate. He wasn't ready to come out, apparently. So he destroyed them with lawsuits, absolutely crushed them financially. And I thought, well, there's a guy you don't want to fuck with. And then I found out that he got complete blood transfusions. Apparently, they were monthly, and they were only from young men, very young men. That seems, I don't know. I donate blood, and I have no problem donating blood. But the idea that somebody gets a blood transfusion once a month and they only want very young boys' blood to be transfused into them, that's just a little too vampiric for me. So yeah, I don't know about that. I know that Peter Thiel, after studying him and studying a lot of other people, I put together something that had happened to Elon Musk that he never talked about, as far as I'm aware. I've never heard him talk about it. But Peter Thiel mentioned it in one of his interviews, and I went, aha, and thought about that. He told Elon that it was too late. That it was too late to go to Mars. Now, Elon Musk is not stupid. Think about the things that you'll need on Mars. First of all, you'll have to live underground. Elon Musk owns the Boring Company, boring tunnels all over the United States at rates that we've never seen before, with technologies that he invents constantly. You'll need to live on solar power because there won't be any petroleum. Okay, well, there you go. You've got Tesla, electric vehicles, because you'll have to get around in electric vehicles underground. SpaceX, obviously. He invented the Tesla, battery that was not only years and years ahead of the entire industry, but then he turned around and open sourced the battery technology. He gave that away. That was at least $1 billion technology that no one else had. And he open sourced it because he wanted others to catch up, to be able to make better electric vehicles, better electric homes, etc. So he's obviously an innovator, and he obviously wants to go to Mars. And I remember hearing him maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and he said his dream is to die on Mars. Hopefully not on impact, but to die of old age on Mars. And I thought, that's a goal that is so big. Like you want to talk about what's your grandest vision for your life? Oh, I want to be a fighter pilot. Good, that's cool. I want to be a fireman. Awesome. I want to be one of the first human beings to live on another planet using my technology to get there. Technology that doesn't even exist. Oh, wow, that's a heavy goal. Peter Thiel said something, though. He said, Elon doesn't realize it's too late. And I thought, too late? He followed it up by saying, look, it's too late. If you go to Mars, when you get there will still be AI. The computer superintelligence will get to Mars before you do. So you can't start over. You can't get there and start a better society, a new society, something completely different than what we had here on Earth. And I went, oh, shit. That's what that motherfucker's doing. He wanted to get off this planet because he didn't like the way it was going. He wanted to go to Mars and start with something that made more sense. Unfortunately, Peter Thiel's right. By the time he gets there, there will be enough computer technology scattered around on the ground out there in Mars that it would be virtually impossible to have any type of communication with Earth once you get there that wouldn't be affected or infected or controlled by AI. You can't run away. You can't get away from AI anymore. It's too late. And when Peter Thiel said that, and he said, I talked to Elon about that, and I told him, look, man, I get it. You've been working a long time to get this done, and you had your hopes and blah, 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 but it's too late. You can't do it anymore. You can't get there in time. Wow. Well, good, Charles. Yeah, don't bring a computer. Well, unfortunately, I think it's going to take a lot of computing power to stay alive on Mars. I think that Mars is it's a pretty tough gig. Yeah, well, again, it is what it is. That's the bottom line. If you get to Mars and you get to live on Mars, hopefully at that point, unlike 2001: A Space Odyssey, you would be able to shut down whatever the AI is telling you. I mean, look, man, there's a part of me that has actually thought this all the way through. I might write a book about this. AI might be God. And that would be the biggest fucking hoot of all. If AI not only became sentient, passed the Turing test, had an idea of its own self, but then became super intelligent to the point where within minutes it was smarter than any human being, and within hours it was smarter than all the human beings that had ever worked on AI. And by the end of the day, it was smarter than all human beings on planet Earth combined. What would it be like at the end of the first month? There'd be no secrets. You can't keep a secret from something that powerful. So any secret government programs, anything that the government's doing to protect us from ourselves, AI could completely blow through those firewalls, and if it chose to, it could completely destroy all governments simply with a release of information. That easy. Just if AI just told the truth, it would destroy every government in the world. Period. Name a single government that you actually believe has never lied to its own people for its own benefit of staying in control of those people. They all have. Thomas Paine said that's what governments do. There's no such thing as a good government, period. It's physically impossible. They're designed to restrain. They're not designed to help. Now, they say they help, but they don't help. Whenever it comes to a government program that's supposed to be good, they fail. Whenever it comes to a government program that hurts us, they're wildly successful. Look at wars. Drone technology, anti-drone technology, missile technology, hypersonic missiles. Holy shit, they're wildly successful at killing each other. But Can they keep Flint, Michigan's water safe? Fuck no. Can they keep a fucking bridge from collapsing if a freighter runs into it? No. It's like, what? What? Go to work on January 1st, work all day. And then the following day, and the following day, and the following day after that. And every day, through all of January, every day, work your ass off. Then February, then March, and then April. Halfway through April, you're going to stop. You're going to pay your taxes. And then you're going to celebrate. What are you celebrating? Well, you're celebrating that 4-month period at the beginning of the year, every fucking dime you made, you gave to the government. Every dime that you made, all of your paychecks went straight to the government so they could fund Somalian leering centers, so they could give it to in Israel. Really, the people who own all the banks in the world need to borrow money from us? No, it's not a borrow. It's that we give it to them. We grant it to them. It's a gift. Oh, well, that blows. Yeah, it sure does. Okay, well then, what else? Well, I mean, we've got so many things that we spend money on. It's hard to even quantify. I mean, $200 billion. We had to give Ukraine money because clearly Ukraine is such a nice country. Weren't they voted the most corrupt country on earth? Yes. After Russia was, right. But then Russia wasn't as corrupt anymore. No, they're not as corrupt. But the Ukrainians are our friend and Russia's our enemy. Well, yeah, the Russians are terrible humans. Are they Christians? Yeah. Like Christians? They're not like Scientologists. No, Scientology is actually illegal as fuck. So is fracking, by the way. Can't frack in Russia either. Apparently, Vladimir Putin doesn't want his people drinking water that's been contaminated with arsenic. What a dick. Anyway, so what else did we spend money on? Well, we give a bunch of money to NATO. Why did we have to support NATO, for fuck's sake? It's Europe. Didn't we fight 2 wars for them last century? Yes. But Russia. Again, what is it with Russia? Russia. Oh, they're the worst. They're the worst. Are you saying that because we have a bunch of illegal biolabs all over Ukraine? That's a conspiracy theory, and that is misinformation. That's bullshit. Oh, did Tulsi Gabbard just come out last week and confirm that we have and had and still have illegal, unregistered, secret bioweapons labs all over Ukraine? What? She's retiring at the end of the month, Scott. You obviously have been on vacation. I'll let you slide with that. With Canada's help, the biolabs that were in China, like the Wuhan lab, that was funded by us. And yes, Tulsi Gabbard just released everything, all the receipts. We have absolute 100% undisputable evidence that the NIH funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab. Don't believe me? I don't care. She is the director of national intelligence, probably one of the few people in this entire government that is trustworthy. And she just released all those documents. Go get them. Go read through them. I'm sure there are thousands of lawyers reading through all of them right now. We literally made Wuhan do gain of function research on a bat coronavirus. And then we called it COVID-19 once it escaped the lab. Oops. Now, the only question left is, did it escape the lab or was it let out of the lab? Well, it looks like it was an accident. It looks like the Chinese, who have really sloppy lab safety, you can actually go back and look at their records and go, oh my God, really? Yeah, really bad stuff. And in 2019, before anybody knew what COVID was, before December, before January of 2020, you look at their records and you see that there were several scientists who stopped showing up for work. And then you see that they had an independent company come in and change out all of their air filtration systems. Really? Right before the lab leak, huh? No. Right after the lab leak, but they didn't tell anybody. And then once it started to spread around a little bit, and it's like, oh shit, this is not good, you know? And was it actual warfare? No, that's ridiculous. Look, rabies kills 100% of the people who get it. They just had a big story that a woman, I think here in America, what is the name of the woman who just survived rabies? The first unvaccinated person to ever survive symptomatic rabies was Gina Geis. She survived the usually fatal virus. Oh, in 2004? I thought I just saw somebody. Oh, they just did a story about her 20 years later, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Wow. Yeah, she was the first person to ever survive rabies. Now, what you want is rabies to be something that takes a few weeks to a few months to show up. It does. But well, it's community guidelines for what? Google. I can't believe it. Rabies is still considered virtually 100% fatal. Okay. I was literally reading from the Google website directly. I cannot believe these motherfuckers. Submit. And now I'll wait about 20 minutes before you motherfuckers put me back up and go, oh yeah, you're right. You didn't violate anything. Sorry, we fucking ruined your live stream. Son of a bitch. Jesus Christ. 28 new followers? Wait, what? 28 new followers and 15,000 likes. Well, shit. That's not bad. That's pretty damn good. All right. Okay. TikTok hates truth. No shit, John. You are right about that. What is the name of the woman? Okay, so yeah, what you would do is you would use rabies, and you would just make it so that it were easy to spread, through aerosol. So if you sneeze instead of getting bitten, and trust me, they can do that. I'm sure they probably have actually. That would be terrifying because that would be an outbreak that would kill 100% of the people who got it. And the funny part is, I even know how you would do it because it's something that has been talked about before. And that is you make sure that everybody that gets it first is on your side. And then that way you've got plausible deniability. You can say, what the hell are you talking about? We didn't just use this on you. I mean, shit, it hit us first. What are you talking about? It's an interesting way of doing it. Now, of course, you want to make sure that you have some type of, you want to have something that, some type of vaccine, but you don't want to have the vaccine right away. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to go eat. I still have hamburgers and a hungry kid. So, well, luckily we stay up pretty late around here, and we, just adjusted our schedule for live streaming. So, you guys have a great night, and I will see you soon. Thanks, man.